Hello, everybody. Okay, so today we're going to be doing our kind of first writing lesson with the research unit. And so let's start by making sure we have our correct tabs open. So the first thing I want you to make sure you have open is the draft of the paper that we started, that MLA format that we went through with the heading on the left-hand side, and we did our page numbering and everything like that. So open that up on one tab. On another tab, I want you to make sure that you have this open, the CCCECC paragraph writing guidelines, and we'll take a look at those in class today. And then on another tab, I want you to make sure that you have this open, which is the information about your paper, the research packet. So get those three things open, and then we're going to get started. If you have to pause this recording, pause it, open up your tabs, and then we'll get going. Okay, so now you should have all of your tabs open. Let's take a look first at the 16 personalities information that we put out there. So we see we've got a lot of division in the class over personalities. I think our largest personality spot right here may be the INFP, ENFP. And then if it wasn't for me, maybe that one. But we've got a pretty interesting mix of E's and I's and P's and J's. So I think it's very interesting that so many of you identified as extroverted, which means that you must be really excited to be getting back to school and to be around people. And hopefully that'll be happening soon for you. For those of you who identified as introverted, maybe these daily Zoom sessions are enough for you, for people, and you're not getting overwhelmed with like being surrounded by people all the time. The P and the J, I think, is a very interesting division that we have in the class. So we're about half P and half J. And I'm actually kind of surprised that there aren't more J's, because you guys have been doing such a great job staying on top of things and being organized and getting things done by deadline as a class. And that's typically a J trait. P's struggle with that a little bit more, the prospecting, because the way that you handle time and responsibilities kind of varies based on what's going on in your life. I understand both of these personality types because I used to be I should point that way. I used to be a pretty strong P. When I was your age, I was an ENFP. And now I'm moving more towards the J area. So I think that the world sometimes makes us be a little bit more J. So those of you who are Ps, you might, depending on what career you end up in, you might find yourself moving more to the J end of the spectrum as you get a little bit older. As I said last week, last time we met, these personality traits we will come back to. So you definitely want to hold on to that email that you can go back to your profile, because you're going to be using this at some point in your paper. And I also want you to think about, as you're learning about your career and you've learned about your personality traits over the past few days, I want you to think about, this is a career that I want to do, but does it suit my personality very well? And so keep that in the back of your head as you're finding out information about your career. Okay, let's take a look at the paragraph writing tool that we're going to be using, the CCCECC, the well-crafted paragraph. This is kind of McHenry High School's organization to paragraph writing, especially when you need to insert evidence, that's what the E stands for, or quotes from research or things like that into a paragraph. I want you to think of this as how a paragraph is organized in a way that most of the writing in a paragraph for a research paper then becomes your own writing and not things that you get directly from your research. So the first C stands for claim. So claim is considered a topic sentence if you're writing an informative paper, or it's considered a thesis or kind of sentence, the point that you want to argue for your audience, if you're writing a more argumentative or a persuasive paper. So you can kind of think of it as giving a preview of what is to come in the paragraph. So I've given you an example of nursing is the paragraph that I decided to write about. And so I'm writing about what it might be like to be in the field. So my claim is that a person interested in nursing must be ready for long days and constant challenge. So what that tells me as the reader is that this paragraph, the claim that I'm making and that I will prove in this paragraph, is that there are long days, that a nurse's shift is long, and that there's going to be a lot of challenge. So those are the 2 points that I'm going to want to make in this paragraph. So the clarify, the second C, is where you give a little bit more information about the claim. So you can clarify like words that you use without exactly saying long days and challenge and things like that. Instead, you write a sentence that kind of expands a little bit on that. So this is an expanding sentence. We have our claim first, and then we expand on that claim with the clarifying. So here's the clarifying sentence. Can be up to 12 hours at a time. So I'm already expanding on the long days. And then the challenge, you could see dozens to hundreds of patients depending on where you are as a specialty. Okay, now we want to insert the research that proves what it is that we're saying. In order to do that, we have to provide context for the quote or the research. So that means about giving background information about what the source is that we're using. So that is this part. According to Naviance's Health Services website, or Becker's Hospital Review, an informative website that presents information to those health service workers with the Becker Hospital system. So sometimes what we want to do, not only is we provide where it came from, but we also give like a little explanation of what that website is. And that helps boost the credibility of the information within our paper. And credibility means that everyone can believe what it is that we're saying because it comes from a reliable website. So that information, because you may not have heard about Becker's Hospital Review, but that kind of helps you get the information about that. All right, so now that you have that set up, now you insert your evidence. It could be a direct quote or just a summary of information that you found from that website. If you are using a direct quote, make sure you put it in quotation marks. If you are summarizing or paraphrasing, then you can put it directly in there without any quotation marks. So I chose to summarize or paraphrase. And then at the end, I have the citation from the website that I got the information from. So that's E, evidence. Then you've got 2 more things that you need to do. You need to comment or expand on the evidence just a little bit in your paper. So it can include further points of support, definitions of words, clarification of something within the evidence. So you discuss the evidence that you just put in. So this comment is expanding on this concept of jet lag airline passengers feel. So that kind of goes in there. And then you conclude. So the conclusion is kind of connecting back to the claim in the first sentence. You can combine the comment and the conclude if you want to, or if the evidence doesn't need any further clarification, which I want to warn you against. Most evidence requires further clarification. So you want to consider, like, what do I need to do to comment on this evidence before I move on? Okay, so you can see that I've connected with the long hours and the concept of it being challenging that I included in my claim statement. So this is one piece of evidence for my paper that I have included right here in the middle, and everything else is my own writing that builds to it and then moves away from it. So this is what we call, like, other teachers may have taught this to you as a quotation sandwich or an evidence sandwich. Now I'm just telling you what you put around that quotation or that piece of evidence. Okay, so that's the whole paragraph. Now I've given you another example of a paragraph that follows the CCCECC, which is a little bit different. This is a claim about whether peanut butter and jelly or peanut butter sandwiches are actually good for you or not, or peanut butter is actually good for you. And then what I want you to do is I want you to try writing one paragraph using one piece of evidence, one piece of research about your history, skills, or day-to-day life of your career that is not common knowledge. In class, I'm going to put you into pairs to do this so you and your partner can work together on building a paragraph. But if for some reason our Zoom cuts out and you're working alone, then this is what I want you to do. And I want you to I want you to put it on our Schoology page. You will see upper right-hand corner of the Schoology page will take you to, wait for it, CCCECC pair work. Lots of C's and E's. And what I want you to do is I want you to, in the, when you click on the blue button right there, that's submission, it's going to open up that dialog box. And in the create tab, I want you to go ahead and create your statement. Okay, so what is your CCCECC paragraph? And put that directly into there and then submit it so that I can take a look at it and see how you're doing on that. This is the format that we're going to work on writing all of the parts of our research paper, which brings us to back to here. Let's take a look at the paper. I'm not going to go over the citation tool because right here, to help you with citations, I have a screencast right there. You can click on that and it'll take you to my YouTube video about using the citation tool. We're going to do that together in class, knock on wood. However, let's take a look at the career research paper. And we're going to look at the part that you need to write first, which is history, day-to-day skills, and traits, I think. Let's take a look at it. So we are going to look at page 5. I have the pages numbered upper right-hand corner. So we're going to go down and take a look at page 5 on this paper to see what it is that we're going to be writing today. Section 1, page 5. So at the top of each of these sections, I've given you an outline of what it is that you need to do. So here's your outline. An attention getter. I want you to use a quote, an example, or an anecdote. An anecdote is like a little story. You can use whatever you want here, but no questions. I don't want any rhetorical questions because inevitably when students use questions as attention getters, they start with, have you ever thought about entering the health career? And I hate that. We don't want to use you in a formal paper, first of all. So we want to eliminate that possibility completely. No questions, just a quote, example, or an anecdote. So then you're going to go into the history. 2 or 3 sentences about the history of your career is enough. So that's like one fact, right? All right. This will be one paragraph of your beginning, right? The description is going to be one paragraph of your beginning. And then how does this impact society? That can be the end of your description section, for example. So introduction, this is what we're going to be doing here, our introductory paragraphs. All right, so I've given you an example for the pirate, for example, and this is kind of giving us a little glimpse at what we're about to do. Okay? All right, so that's our opening paragraph, and that's what I'm requiring for you to do. If you take a look at our plans tonight as homework, you are going to be inserting citations using the citation tool while you are working on that. So when I log onto your paper, because I have edit access to your paper, I should click on tools and citations, and over here should open up the different websites that you've looked at so far. Just like, so it shows me what you've been doing and how you're building that right there. So look at the citation tool information to get that. So by the time we meet together as a class again, which is going to be, I think, Monday, Tuesday, sorry, you should have section 1 written. And I'm going to be taking a look at section 1 and giving you comments on that first paragraph so that we're kind of working on this rough draft and revising as we go along. All right. that is everything we needed to talk about today. Hopefully, you're going to get started on that research paper, and keep in mind that CCCECC paragraph writing so that we can kind of keep an eye on how we're doing and making sure that we're using more of our own thoughts and less just like a list of research that you're including in there. Okay, have a great day, and I will see you in class on Tuesday. Don't forget, we have Monday off for Columbus Day. So, Tuesday, next time I see you in class.